It's my honor and pleasure to be interviewing Mamadou Touré, founder and CEO of Ubuntu Tribe. So thank you so much, Mamadou, for being here. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Awesome. So let's get started, perhaps with a couple of words of introduction about Ubuntu Tribe. What have you been doing?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Who you're serving?
Ubuntu Tribe really mission is to help access financial freedom and provide equal access to opportunities regardless of place of birth or wealth at birth. What does that mean? It means that the assets or your wealth should be created in a way that you do not get penalized to fully realize your potential. And as such, we realize that in order to escape the poverty trap or the debt trap, people need to build a real asset base, right? That they can borrow against, that they can use and grow and pass to other generations. And we believe that gold actually serves that purpose. But as you know, gold as physical is complicated, to move and stuff. So we say, let's tokenize gold. And more importantly, let's fractionalize ownership so that people could give gold, which is our gold-backed token, from as low as 10 cents, which is 1 milligram, meaning that anybody on the planet have a chance to participate, right? And because it's on-chain, then it's easy, it's safe, it's fast to move, to own, where you can transfer the title deed, the digital title deed, without the gold having to move. So that's really our ambition, and we believe that it's a good way also to bring the 7 billion people who are not yet onto Web3 by giving them something that they know, using the best that the Web3 has to offer and making it easier for them so that they could soon swap BTC, Ethereum, or USDC with Give Gold, right?
Absolutely. So with this...
So it's a bridge. We're building a bridge for the new financial system.
Thank you so much. So with these words of introduction, we're going to dive right in. Mamadou, you spent over 20 years in traditional finance. Given your experience, what fundamental differences do you see between how traditional finance views gold versus how the Web3 industry approaches it?
So I'll start with the Web3 industry. I think the Web3 industry doesn't really understand gold, right? Because it comes from an environment where everything is digital and immaterial, right? And therefore, gold is pretty much misunderstood by the Web3 industry. And I've had so many conversations with the Bitcoin maxis, right? Who don't realize that, this year alone, gold has gained more than Bitcoin, right? And that don't always realize that, yes, Bitcoin may have grown with a value of, 5 times in 5 years, but 5 years ago, it was 10% of gold market cap. 5 years later, it's still 10% of gold market cap. So there's a bit of ignorance about it. And I think our role is to really educate more about the potential of gold. But the beauty about, Web3, and in particular, calling Bitcoin the digital gold, they implicitly acknowledge the power of gold. That's why it is coined as digital gold. So it's saying, the best asset is gold, and we made it digital and immaterial. But they're still saying the best asset is gold. So why don't we bring the actual physical best assets on chain for people to effectively have in the digital world access to that real physical assets?
Absolutely.
Now, traditional finance, for me, there's a bit of hypocrisy within the traditional finance world when it comes to gold. I would say you have the happy few who know, right? Central banks, big financial institutions, large investors who are the first ones to buy gold, to trade ETFs and all those things. And then you have the rest of the finance world who don't really know, because information is like somehow hidden, right? When gold hits all-time high, and it's been happening regularly, like over the past, because it keeps on growing, right?
Yeah.
Do you hear it in the news? No, right? But those who know go and buy and make sure that others don't. Why? because they don't want everybody to come and buy because it would get the price too high for them to buy. So there's a big difference between the Web3 and Bitcoin maxis, etc., is that we want to know that Bitcoin goes up because if it goes up, then we win. But in TradFi, if gold goes up, the top guys who kind of pull the strings in the finance world may win, but the price becomes too high because they always plan to keep on accumulating. That's the difference. So it's sad because gold suffers from, let's say, miscommunication in TradFi and suffers from ignorance in Web3. And we are here to fix that because everybody deserves tokenized gold in their wallet. Why? Because it's the one asset that has had value regardless of civilization, regardless of geographies. And did you know that the top military troops and the elite troops, they would put in the survival kit an ounce of gold when they send them anywhere in the world? You know why? Because even if they found themselves in the Amazon forest or in the Congo basin, that ounce of gold will bring them back home. Because even if you show it in the wildest place ever, they know what it is.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So we have to bring this on chain because it's that very unique chance, right, to bring the one thing that everybody knows and trusts into the one thing that everybody should know and trust, which is Web3.
Right.
And it becomes this perfect gateway to large adoption of those 7 billion people who are not into Web3 yet.
Right. And talking about the prices of gold, with gold hitting record highs, while Bitcoin, on the other hand, faces pressure, how do you respond to critics who say tokenized gold is just repackaging traditional assets rather than innovating in a digital asset space?
Look, it's a very good question. First of all, repackaging asset is actually an innovation, right? In the sense that we live in a physical world, whether we want it or not. I can touch this, right? You eat the food, right? And it's physical. All that somehow is the world we live in. Imagine bringing that on chain and now having, let's say, you tokenize carbon credits. And now the beauty of that innovation is democratization. We shouldn't ignore that, right? Bringing a kilo of gold on the market is $100,000. Who can afford $100,000 with so many issues with financial exclusion, underbanked, etc.? But if you fractionalize it, I mean, you make a big difference in people's life, and not just gold, right? And so many assets that were not accessible. Think of Robinhood, who also fractionalized somehow, but now you use blockchain for traceability, reliability, so that the system cannot tweak it. And at the end of the day, when you talk about innovation, there's been countless initiatives for gold-backed token. And most of them never saw the day or never got even listed. So
why?
Because it's much harder than it looks. And that's where the innovation is, right? Okay, when everything is kept digital, okay, you're in that environment. Now you kind of making two environments that are antithetic to actually work together. And that's very hard. It took us many years to get it right? For instance, to link every token, like Give Gold, to a gold serial number. The Give Gold is audited. So before we even issue it on chain, there's an auditor that verifies. And the systems, we cannot issue more tokens than whatever has been physically reported. So all that to fit together is quite a logical. And then the logistics, also the traceability. So I think there's actually a much bigger innovation than one would say because so many people have tried and very few have succeeded. I can launch a meme coin any day, right? Launch a gold token takes a lot of things from regulation, takes a lot of things from logistics, and also smart contract, right? And all that, all those pieces, many have aspired, very few have succeeded. And we're lucky we regulated. We're one of the only gold-backed token in the world regulated in MiCA, right? I suspect some of the biggest that we know, I won't quote names, are not yet, right? And that's already an achievement in itself. And more importantly, where it becomes interesting is that the real world assets are the future of Web3 anyway. Because how many meme coin can you effectively produce, right? But when you can now tokenize, commodities, not just precious metals, but coffee and production and so on, that's massive in people's life, right? And when you can tokenize also, I mean, people talk about innovation. Did they say that USDT, USDC was not a great innovation? They're tokenizing a real world asset. So why would you criticize tokenizing gold as not an innovation while the actual innovation of tokenizing the dollar has made Web3 what it is today? Right?
That's true.
And at the end of the day, when you look at both, when the dollar is crumbling like it is, right? Maybe you want to think also of an alternative real asset that actually the top central banks in the world are rushing into, and that is known to have been the backbone of the financial system, right? Maybe you're seeing BRICS, for instance, not accepting or trading outside of the dollar zone, right? Now, everybody is going to trade within their zone with their own currency, but the one thing they all have in common and that they will accept is gold. I'm sorry, it's a fact.
Yes.
And tokenizing that and acknowledging that is innovating in a systemic way to build and provide something that has always been and will still be a common denominator.
Right. And I just want to come back on two things. So the first one regarding innovation, you said a lot of people have been trying to do what you do now, but it's actually much harder than it looks like. Ubuntu has been around for quite some time, right?
Yes, indeed.
How many years have you been working on Ubuntu?
We started this 5 years ago.
Okay.
Right? And it took us quite some time. Of course, with COVID, we had to slow down, and then with the crypto crash with Terra Luna and FTX. So we had to ride so many storms, and we were too early for the Web3 maxes because they couldn't understand what we were doing, right? And we were not relevant for the TradFi because they couldn't understand Web3. So, but while doing that, we needed to also build a whole ecosystem. We built a wallet. Our wallet is quantum safe, which is one of the rare in the world, which is a quantum safe wallet that is fully integrated now also with payment and so on. And what is also special about the wallet is that people can effectively also have a dApp browser and so on. So we've built an ecosystem, not just a coin, right? And the whole logistic, the storage, that takes time, right? And more importantly, it took us 2 years to get Mika. While everybody would just put a coin out there, don't care about, we decided to play by the book, to do it right, and to have customers' protection in mind, and have a third party that says, yes, those guys, their system is structured and designed in a way that protect customers, and we can vouch for them. And regulation moves slower than technology. So when you want to get everything right, you have to be patient. But we wanted to start with our best foot forward and had the patience to. And now, look, we regulated in MiCA, which is one of the toughest one, where very few have succeeded. We also, have an entity in the US. We have an entity here in Singapore. We're headquartered in Dubai. And more importantly, contrary to a lot of the other big so-called gold-backed token, for me yes, we do have gold in vaults, right? In Zurich, in Stuttgart, in Copenhagen, okay, and now we're also expanding Dubai, Singapore. But for me, I wouldn't have felt complete if I didn't take care of the whole supply chain. That's one of the pieces that took us the longest. Why? Because at the end of the day, when this gold is extracted, I don't want to be hearing, oh, there were child labor involved. I don't want to be hearing, oh, the people who produce the gold get the crumbs, right? Those who tokenize bullion, many don't care. I care. I come from Africa, right? And I know how things are going there. And I couldn't take pride in just selling a gold-backed token without having made the effort to fix the supply chain and to check the supply chain. So we built a whole track and trace technology from ground to vault on chain with different points of verification so that we know the whole path of the gold. And on top of that, we've also deployed and worked with a technology that allows to extract gold with zero mercury, zero cyanide, because mercury has been polluting so much our land to the point where a few years back, Ghana banned artisanal mining. Why? Because the mercury had polluted so much the water that people couldn't drink anymore. So yes, the gold arrives and people buy it. But what is happening in the kitchen, in the back room? So we are a conscious company. We are here to, yes, change people's life, but change people's life means also change the life of the people who produce the gold we are tokenizing. Because if not, we've only done half of the job. And that takes time, right? It takes the effort to really, I spend so much time in the mines with artisanal miners understanding, so that even if we have gold bullion that is refined and certified, we built a supply chain that we're going to progressively bring the best standards so that others hopefully can copy, right? And now we have a right ecosystem inspired by our own name, which is Ubuntu. I am because we are. Because at the end of the day, if I'm here and I'm getting, so many trading volumes of gold, but the people who have extracted it are suffering, or the environment from where it's been extracted is actually depleting, then I didn't do what I came here to do, right? And that for me is essential. And that's also what I think differentiates us from whomever is doing it today, right? And on top of it, we have a circular economy model. We really want to champion regenerative finance. We built Ubuntu to show that you can have financial, social, and environmental returns by building the right model, by taking the time to putting each piece together so that it sustains for generations. Why? Because when everyone is happy, they will want to make sure that things work, right? Yeah. And that's really, and 10% of the transaction fees that we collect from the on-chain transactions is redistributed to mining communities to build social infrastructure, build schools, hospitals, so that they can benefit. And you can see rising, maybe future Mamadou Touré also, who would have had a chance to get the right education, the right healthcare to fully realize their potential. So if we say we want to give equal access to opportunity, regardless of place of birth or wealth at birth, it means that, yes, you might be sitting in Paris and your gold token has gained 40%. But the guy who produced it in the mine is also getting a better life thanks to us. Sorry, it was a long one, but I thought it was important to...
It is important because at the end of the day, impact is at the core of Ubuntu, and it's also at the core of a lot of the projects that you're leading,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. So this is our DNA, right? Yeah. And people would say gold is gold. Not for us, right? There is gold that has been within our ecosystem, and we want people to know that it was done the proper way.
The right way.
The right way, yeah.
So, again, talking about inclusion, right? You are emphasizing a lot on financial inclusion with gold ownership starting at just 10 cents, as you mentioned before. What specific markets or demographics are adopting gift gold, and what problems are they solving that traditional gold products couldn't address? I mean, you've already kind of touched upon a lot of these different things, but...
I think, the point of having it from 10 cents is de facto implicitly saying it's for everyone, right? Because hitherto it wasn't, right? And it was even less so, it wasn't for those who actually produce it, right? So, I mean, think of it, right? Let's take Africa, let's take Latin America, the two largest gold producers, right? And people export the gold. They live in countries where the currency is loose. Think of Argentina, how much, the peso who completely lost value, Nigerian naira lost 700% to gold, right? But why don't we just keep some of this gold and put it in those people's hands? For me, it was a no-brainer, right? So yes, we know institutionals will run for it. Why? Because we tick the boxes of fully regulated so that we're not excluded. But we want to make sure that when the big boys come, that the small ones get a chance to participate. So that's an important one for us. And I think there was another point also in your...
What problems are dissolving the traditional gold products going to address? I think the accessibility.
Yeah,
right?
the accessibility, the transferability. Think of this, right? You sitting in Paris, you have your grandma in Gabon, you want to send her money. Why send her money? Send her gold. Right? Because she's going to cash it in at, I don't know, 8% on those remittance companies, right? And then what he's going to do is going to start losing the value by the moment she cash in. While you can send gold, she just uses what she needs, the gold stays on her wallet, and it appreciates over time, and she only uses what she can. So it's the immediacy, and of course, most people would keep gold in their safe under their mattress or like cash. You don't do that anymore. Just send a digital certificate, give gold. The gold is in the safest place in the world. And the ownership just moves from one phone to another.
Are you going to tell us where you store the gold?
Yes, but not the exact location, right? But good luck, because those vaults are nuclear proof, right? They are really, really secure, right? And military grade. So, and they're private. So this is also an important thing, right? Many people tell me, oh yeah, but I have ETF. Oh, many people tell me, oh yeah, but my bank has my gold, right? Now, guess what? You've heard of FDIC? You've heard of Silicon Valley Bank? You've got so many cases like that. When the bank goes bankrupt, you only insured up to $100,000, right? That's why we make sure that it's in private regulated vault, so that it's independent on the bank performance, and it's also insured by Lloyd's. The gold under your mattress might be insured by your door. That's to the best, right? So, and that's why we choose some of the best. And then you have all the convenience and the fractionalization. Go and cut a bar of gold in 1 milligram. You can't, right? We've done that for you, and each token is linked to a serial number. So we're using a very advanced technology so that you can trace the gold, the actual physical all the way back.
I'm talking again about regulation, because you touched upon the different jurisdictions on which you regulated. So you regulated under MiCA and also stored across vaults in Europe, Dubai, Singapore. Can you tell us why multi-jurisdictional custody matters for institutional adoption of tokenized assets?
So the reason is simple, right? Let's say tomorrow there's a war in Europe and you're sitting in Manila. You don't know, right? So what we're really trying to do is to bring the gold as close as possible to the locations of the people who have ordered it. And then you diversify your risk, and you bring gold at proximity, and also you can move an asset from one place to another versus having a single point of failure. Yeah.
Okay. And last but not least, looking ahead, what does success look like for Ubuntu Tribe in the next 12 to 18 months? Are you expanding beyond gold into other real-world assets, or are you going to deepen your focus on gold tokenization?
No, we're of course going to widen our offering. So we're launching silver next quarter, and then platinum, lithium, where people... Did you know that lithium over the past 4 years gained 600%? Only a few know that. Now, what if we could bring tokenized lithium in people's hands, right? Did you know that silver have grown faster than gold this year?
No.
Exactly. And that's really what we want to try and address, and bring those things that have been the hidden gem to the masses backed by something real that is not going to be subject to a pump and dump, to a rock pool, or to anything like that, right? So that's what we want, a multi-layer offer of tokenized assets, precious metals. And of course, we look at having our wallet widespread, used, and definitely 12 months from now, look, when people will come to Token 2049, maybe they'll just tap with their gold wallet with their credit card and use some of that gold to buy coffee, right? I wouldn't recommend, but I would keep the gold if I can. But you never know. So at least you have that possibility, and also where we are very advanced, and that will release next year. We believe that finance is based on two things: asymmetry of information and collateral. With tokenizing precious metals, we give you the collateral that anybody, everyone, wherever you go, trusts and knows, and they don't need your credit history. They just lock the asset on chain and lend you money. Imagine the difference it's going to make in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, where to go to a bank, you would say, oh yeah, and they ask you for salary, where most of those guys don't have a regular salary, right? I don't need to know you. Lock your asset, and the difference it's going to make, I want to see that happen. I want to see that change. And imagine if it gain again, let's say it's 50% next year. You've borrowed, let's say you have $100, you've borrowed $20 end of this year. Next year, your asset will be worth $200. You can borrow again with no risk or anything.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of things we want to see happening. So because what the wealthy do, they don't never use their own money. You think Elon Musk, no, he doesn't sell his shares, and except when he wants to buy another company. What he does, he puts his Tesla shares in collateral and live on the back of that. Why can't you? Why can't they? Right? Let's start with the asset we're sitting on, and we've been sitting on for centuries. Gold, right? And the other question is the asymmetry of information. I just gave you an example of knowledge. We're building an AI-powered system for financial literacy. So on our wallet, you'll have an AI assistant that will help you understand how finance works, how investment works, what is the best performing, so that you become informed and you have the asset to play with, and now you get a level playing field. Watch for this happening in the next 12 to 18 months.
Looking forward. Very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mamadou. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for your questions, and thank you for brilliant interview. I loved it. Thank you.
Glad you did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of Token.
Thank you. I will. Have a great day. Cheers.